Hi, welcome back. Today is September 10th. I'm a little late on getting this filmed just because I really only worked on one piece this month, or for August, and I really wanted to get the page done before I did anything because then I basically wouldn't have much at all to show. So I want to get that done, and I did. It just took me a little bit of time. So I'm finally recording the video. I didn't work on either of my two Hade pieces, the ones for my parents, because I was working on the big one, my big Hade, the Fantastic Voyage, which I did get a page finish. So, yeah. Do you mind, Crowd? Yes. So, where my finger is, that's about where the page started. It's about here. So I got all that done, and it was basically all like this. I'm not sure if this is like maybe the cabin of a boat, or if it's, because it looks like the wheel looks like a ship's wheel. But you can see there's a curtain. It's all windows basically, and then the door there. So that's what I got done. So this whole piece looks like that now. There's about 2 more pages, and then this row is done. I've already been working on this piece since 2016, 2017. So it's already been like 4 years at least. And it's gonna take me forever. This is one of the supersized max color Hades, which, and this is the only one I've ever bought that is a supersized max color, but I assume they're all kind of the same size. It's gigantic. It's over 100 pages. It takes me, it took me 2 years just to do a 24 page, pattern. So, like, it's gonna take a while. It takes me like maybe once I start a page, it takes me like maybe a month because I don't like working on it solely. And I work on these differently than I work on basically any other full coverage. I will do it color by color on the page. I don't do it in the squares. Just because I'm doing it 1/1 on like 40 count, I think. So it's very small, very tiny little stitches. I'm not showing you the back because you'd probably all shudder. People who actually care about the back would probably shudder at my back. Because, yeah. It's not pretty. But I'm loving how it's looking. It looks amazing. I've started keeping track of my colors too. Like how much, this is probably going to sound like weirdly neurotic, but I've started keeping track of like how much of each color gets done on each page. I don't know why, but I just kind of find it interesting to see which color like was the most. Of course, on this one, black is always the most used color on every single page. It's the one I start with because it gives me a good like baseline for where everything goes, because I don't grid my fabric, and I don't run into really any issues not gridding, because I start with black. Black is the most prevalent color in the entire piece, so I start with black, and then it gives me a good like outline for where everything's gonna go and all like the little sections. So I'm going to talk about this a little more, just because I don't have much stitching, so I don't have much to talk about stitching-wise in this video. So the way that I start it is I'll do black, and then that gives me sections. And then I'm not going to go grab it, but I have like a storage bin, and all of the threads that I'm not using for any other projects, I'll keep in there if I know that they're going to be on that page. If that makes sense. So I'll go through them all, and once I'm done stitching it on the page that I'm working on, I'll then go look at the pattern, look at the next page, see if that color shows up on that page. If it does, I'll keep it in the box. If it doesn't, I put it away into my actual regular storage. And so I always have a bin full of threads. And I keep my threads in, I do have some to show you. So I keep my threads in just like sandwich baggies, like that. And I always write down what the color is, and then I'll write down the symbols and what they're used for. So, and that's my storage method. Not everyone does that, and I don't like putting them on bobbins at all. I prefer keeping them like this because I don't like unwinding them. With this, you can see right there where that thread is. So once that's the loose one that's already cut. Once that's gone, I'll just grab it, and I'll grab it, that one loose thread, and I can just pull it. And I usually pull 3 lengths out, and that's good for me. I used to have them on bobbins, and I do still have a few from like when I first started stitching that are still on bobbins, and I'm trying to get all of them off. But like when I'm going through my threads, I can tell which ones were used for my very early projects, because I'm just like, what was I thinking? Like, they're already pre-cut into like these really short lengths that I don't like anymore, and it's just a mess and I don't like it. But I'm not going to throw it out, you know. It's still thread. I can still use it. It's just annoying to use. So once I do that, once I go through that bin of everything, then I will go through my 2 other little bins. I have these little like skinny rectangular storage bins. One's for Fairy Dancer, one is for Deer Creek. I'll go through each of those for any of the colors, because if it's in that, I'm not going to take it out and put it in my bin. That is the main bin that it stays in, because that's a main project. So I'll go through those for any colors that show up in this, stitch those, and then that takes care of almost everything. And then after that, I'll go through like section. If there's enough, I'll go through section by section. So like, you know, these windows would be their own section. This little top band is its own section. I do it by like color. And then I'll go through my regular just general storage, and then I also have a few like project bags like this for some of my smaller stuff, and I do have 2 patterns that are kitted up, so they have a few random ones in there, but I have a OneNote document where I keep track of where all of my threads are, except for the ones in general storage. If it's in general storage, I don't put it on that list, but if it's in anything else, I put it on that list and where it is, so then I know exactly where all of my threads are, and I'm not searching for them, because that has happened before, where I'm like, I don't know where this is, and then I bought it, thinking that I'd completely lost it, and then I found it in something. So, you know, there's always that one at the end of this project. There's always that one color that I'm like, I don't know where this is. I end up finding it eventually. So that is how I stitch this. And I can't wait to get to the end. I really can't. I can't wait to get to the next shelf where more stuff happens and it's going to be filled out a bit more. I really kind of can't wait to finish Deer Creek and Fairy Dancer, and then I can work more on this, because I feel like those just take up my time. You know, I want to finish them because my parents, well, they're not gonna, you know, die tomorrow or anything, but I want them done. I want to give them to them. I also have the one for my sister that's been done for like 3 years, and I want to give her that one, but I don't want to give it to her until I'm done with these. I want to give them all to them at the same time, and just be done with it. So I worked, once I finished that, I was like just kind of bored for the night, and this was like 2 days ago or something like that when I finished this. I was just busy yesterday, so I did not film the video. But when I finished that, I decided to start finishing an actual piece. So I've shown this before. It is, what is it called? Storytime Sampler by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So it's all these just little like frames with a little story in them. Do not ask me what they all are because I don't remember. I have to like, some of them I don't know, so I literally have to like, if you look up the actual pattern on the website, it does say what they all are, and I sometimes have to do that. Especially if I'm like posting it on Instagram and tagging whatever story it is, I don't remember. Some of them are obvious and some of them not so much. So I finished the frames for the last two, because I only have 2 more, and then I'm done. So I finished the frames for which the frames are honestly my least favorite part, because I don't know if you can really tell, but each of the frames is done with a hand dyed, so it's variegated. So you have to do, 1 stitch at a time, which is the only reason I don't like using hand dyed. The only reason. It is beautiful, but I absolutely hate having to do 1 stitch at a time. I'm a cross-country stitcher. That is what I like doing, and sometimes I'll forget myself when I'm using hand dyed, and then I'm like, god damn it, and I have to like undo my threads. But so, try to show you. So these are the last 2. It's blurry. It's not gonna focus, but this one I think is Little Women. I'm not positive, but she's writing. She's at a desk. She's writing. There's an ice skate as the little motif up above. So I'm pretty sure it's Little Women. I literally just read Little Women, which I'll talk about later. But so yeah, I think it's Little Women. And then the last one is A Christmas Carol, definitely. And then once it's done, I'll go through it, go through what they all are, show them better than what I can show you on this. So yeah, I have those 2 done, and I'm so happy about having those done. Don't ask me what this fabric is. It's Picture This Plus. It's the same fabric they used. Okay, so it's Storm. Storm from Picture This Plus, because I bought the same fabric they did the sample piece on, because I really liked it. So it's Storm. And I'm assuming it's the same 32 count Lugana. I'm assuming that's what I bought as well. I'm not great at keeping track of the fabrics. So, moving on from this goes right into what I want to talk about next, is my haul. So, as I said in my last video, I bought the pattern for Epic Storybook Princesses, and I was like kind of wasn't sure what fabric I wanted, because at the time what I really wanted was a light blue opalescent, because I wanted light blue because that's just Disney. I feel like light blue is just a classic Disney color. But I wanted it opalescent because like the magic of Disney, But to do that would have been really expensive because it is a very big project. It would have been over $100. And I was like, I don't really have the money for that. I'm not really sure if I want to save up for it or what. Like literally like maybe a week after I posted that video, I finally got my tax refund. And I was like, finally, I have the money to do it. So I went on 1-2-3 Stitch, and I couldn't find, they didn't have like any opalescents that were the right color. They had opalescents that were the right size, but not that were the right blue. They were too dark, and I didn't want one that was too dark. I wanted one that was light. So I did not end up getting an opalescent because for me the color of the fabric mattered more than having the opalescent. That was just an extra feature, but I really wanted the right color. So what I got, I haven't even opened it yet, was this. So this is Coastal. Picture This Plus Coastal. And it is a linen, which I don't normally work on linens, but it was the perfect color. The color for me mattered more than what the fabric was, than what the opalescent, than anything. So they didn't have it in Lugano, which is my preferred fabric. So I've done linen before. That piece up there is actually done on linen. I think Zweigart, or no, Witch Else, I think. Not hand dyed. It's all one color. It's like a gray. So, but this is the perfect color for me. Like, it's not too light, it's not too dark. It's got really beautiful, it's so beautiful. It's just so pretty. It's just so pretty. I think it's gonna be perfect. Once I stitch it up, it's gonna look awesome. So I am unsure if I want to start the Disney one after I'm done with this, or if I want to do one of the I have like four other patterns that I do have already kitted up. I have the fabric for them, I have everything for them, and I'm not sure, and they're all fairly small. None of them are full coverage. I mean, they'll still take me, a few months probably to finish it, just because I'm not going to be working on only that. So I'm not sure if I want to work on one of those and finish one of those off, or if I want to just jump right in. I might just jump right in because I really want to work on it. And it's just so awesome. Yeah. We'll see. I'm probably not going to, regardless of what I do, once I'm done with this, I'm not going to jump right into a new project. I'm going to work on Fairy Dancer. I really want to get the row finished, that second row finished, before I work on anything else, just because I am behind on those. I haven't worked on them in I haven't worked on Fairy Dancer in 2 months. And I didn't work on them at all this past month. So I do want to get a lot done on that. And then after that, I want to try to balance my stitching a bit better. I'm not great at balancing. I'm kind of all in on one, and then, I like focusing on one for the whole month, or getting a page finish on that and then moving on to something else. But I want to try to balance it a little bit more, do one this day and then one this day, and right now my problem is frames. This is the only 9x9 frame I have. I need another one. My other one, I did have two, and my other one, I noticed that the plastic, the PVC, was starting to crack. Probably because I had it in my my clamp, which I don't even use anymore. I don't use it right now because this is my living room and my bedroom. I don't have a couch right now or a chair that I can really stitch in. So once we move, hopefully in 6 months, we'll have an actual living room, and then I'll start using my stand again. But it does kind of, I tighten it a little too much, and I need one of those corner clamps. I need one of those so much, but they're $100 or something ridiculous. But yeah, I have two of the 11x9s, or whatever they are. No, this is an 11x11. Yeah, this is an 11x11. I have two of the 17x11s. because I buy an 11 by 11 and a 17 by 17, and then I have two 11 by 17s because that's my favorite to use for big projects. But this I like for these little ones. This wouldn't even fit in the big one because the fabric's too small. But I need another one because I literally couldn't start working on this one until I was done with the Fantastic Voyage. So I need to get another one of these. So that is basically all I have. That's it for stitching. 20 minutes ain't bad talking about stitching. Hopefully next month I'll have a lot more to show. So is the part where if you don't care about books, feel free to leave. But I'm going to talk about what I read this month, or for August. So as I mentioned last month, I mentioned that I'm part of a book club on Goodreads. The Goodreads Book Club Choice Awards, I think. Or the Book Reads Choice Awards. Goodreads Book... whatever it's called. And that every month they have, like, a list of, you know, they have a challenge where it's a list of prompts, 10 prompts, and you're supposed to do one book for each prompt. So I kind of tried to do it, and I finished 6. I finished 6 books out of 10. So that is not bad, but not what I wanted. I wanted to finish 9, so there are 3 books I didn't finish. Although one I did finish, but it was after. It was after September had started, so it technically doesn't count, I don't think. I think you have to finish it in the month of August or September or whatever month the challenge is in for it to count. And then a few of them I'd started in July, so they were already a good part of the way done. So the first book that I finished was The Way of All Flesh by Perry Ambrose. So I bought this. This is my copy. It is a historical fiction. It takes place in Edinburgh in like the 1800s, and it is kind of it is a mystery, but it's also like a medical. It has a lot of medical stuff in it because the main character, there's 2 main characters really, and one of them he is a doctor's assistant, and he's trained to be a doctor himself, and then the other main character, she is a maid, but she also kind of doubles as a nurse, and she works for the doctor that the other main character works for, so they work together. So it is about medical stuff, but it's also like a murder mystery because there's a serial killer in it, and they're like trying to figure out who the serial killer is. It's a good book. It's part of a series. There's 2 more books. One I know is already out. The 3rd one, I'm not sure if it's out yet, but I think they've announced that it's going to come out, and I do want to read them. Although I read a review on the 2nd one, and it did say it was like more medical heavy, like a lot more medical talk, and they kind of got dry in parts, so we'll see. But yeah, it was a good book, and Perry Ambrose is a husband and wife pen name. It's a husband and wife team, and that's their pen name together. It says in the back, I think, who it actually is. It's Chris Brookmeyer and Marissa Hatesman are the authors. So there's that one. The 2nd book, Lolita. Finally finished it. Only reason I read this is because it is a part of my 100 books to read. As you can see, I'm probably like almost halfway there. I'm getting there. I don't recommend this to anyone. It is a disgusting book, in my opinion. It is not worth reading. I would never read this again. I don't understand why people say that it's their favorite book. I don't understand that at all. Maybe I just don't understand it. I don't know. Maybe call me ignorant or whatever, but it's not for me. Ugh. Even, like you can see on the title, it even says the only convincing love story of our century, and that's a review by Vanity Fair. It's not a love story. It's from the point of view of an unreliable narrator who is sexually attracted to a 12-year-old girl, and he marries her mother, basically just so that he can get close to her. Mother dies. He's in sole custody of this daughter, and she's not exactly a willing participant, I would not say. But yeah, no, it's not for me. The third book, which I just finished this like 2 days ago, Radium Girls. This is a historical nonfiction. So the beginning of each chapter is kind of written like a fiction, but it is a nonfiction book. If you're not into that, understand. But this was so good. Horrible, but good. Because it's true. So if you don't know anything about the Radium Girls, which I did not until like a few months ago, because there's a movie on Netflix, I think, called Radium Girls, which when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, how have I never heard of this? And then I looked up reviews of it, and people were saying like, oh, it's not a great representation of what actually happened, because they dumbed down what actually happened so much, like the horribleness of it. And then I read the book, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, they did. So in the in the early 1900s, radium was discovered by Marie Curie and her husband, and it was like this amazing new compound, and they understood that it was radioactive and harmful. Marie Curie died of cancer, I'm pretty sure, that she got from handling the radium. And her daughter even had cancer as well. Her husband was killed by a carriage accident. He probably would have ended up dying from cancer as well. And even their notebooks that they were writing everything on when they were working in the labs, you can't touch them. They're so radioactive. You cannot touch them to this day. Radium has a half-life of 1,200 years, I believe. So, I mean, it's insane. So they knew that it was radioactive, but they didn't. This was still when they didn't fully know how harmful radioactivity could be to a human body. Like, they knew it was harmful, but like not to what extent. Like, how much can you be exposed to it before you die, basically. So they were using it to paint dial faces, like watch faces and like plane dials and stuff, because it's luminous. It glows in the dark. So they would take a tiny, tiny amount and mix it with this paint compound, and then paint these dial faces, and they would glow in the dark. And it was great because of course this was around the time that World War I started, so it was great for that, because you didn't need electricity or anything. So if your electricity in your plane ran out or something, or whatever, it'd still be luminous. So they had these factories. So there was one in Orange, New Jersey, and one in Ottawa, Illinois. I think it was, Illinois. And the one in Orange was the first one, and there were these girls, women, like teenagers, really, who worked there, and they would paint all the dial faces. And they were taught that the way that they were taught to paint was to take the brush and dip it in their mouths to get the point of the brush, because they had to paint these very precise numbers and it had to be perfect. So they were literally eating radium. And they were told that it was fine, it was not harmful. And then their like teeth started coming out after like years. They would be doing this, and then a few years later their teeth would start coming out, their jaws would literally rot and like break apart and come out. And they died. Like, a bunch of women died from this, and it was awful. And they, in both Ottawa and Orange, this happened. And so they ended up suing the companies. It was 2 different companies that were the main ones, and they ended up suing them and kind of winning, but kind of not. And it's just horrible. The women, their bones to this day, because they died. I mean, this was the 1920s. Their bones to this day are still very radioactive. And, like, even their children, because some of them had children, and even their children, like, had radioactivity in them, just from being born. It's awful. And then in the very end of the book, there's a prologue, I think. There's a postscript in the back, and it talks about, it seems, when you're reading it, it's only like 2 pages long, and when you're reading it, you think it's just about what happened, because it sounds exactly the same as what happened. And then at the very end of the postscript, it says the year is 1970 something, and I'm just like, what? This went on until the 70s. Like, of girls, like, it does say that they were told not to put the brushes in their mouths, but they're still around radium. Like, they would go home and they'd be just covered in powder, luminous powder, and be glowing. It's insane. So that is by Kate Moore, and I got this from my library, and it was really good. It's very good. So, finished 3 other books. I'm not going to talk about them quite as much. So the first one I finished was Little Women. I think I mentioned that. And I really did enjoy that. These were all audiobooks, so I don't have, the actual copies to show you. So Little Women I finished. Frankenstein I finished, which Frankenstein I didn't like. I was, like, really disappointed. I thought I was going to like it because I've read Dracula, which was published around the same time. I liked Dracula. I liked the way it was written. It was written, which I did not know that Dracula, before I started reading it, I didn't know it was written in, like, letters and, like, diary entries, and it was like a found footage kind of a book. It was really good. I liked it. Didn't really like Frankenstein very much. And then 100 Years of Solitude was the other book that I finished, and that one I didn't like very much either. 3 out of 6 books that I actually liked. Not bad. Half, not bad. So I'm reading 3 books right now. I only have a copy for one of them. So the first one that I started, I'll talk about that one first. A Circus of Brass and Bone, which I think I mentioned in the last one, maybe. And I do like it. I'm just not reading it a bunch because it's on my Kindle, and I don't read that a huge amount. I kind of forget that it exists. I'm over halfway done with it. It's a pretty good book though. It's like takes place in an alternate, like, history. Like, it takes place not long after the Civil War in America, but it's like an alternate history where there is the whole country is run on, like, ether, like this, like, ether stuff. But at the very beginning of the book, this is not a spoiler, it happens in, like, the first chapter. In the very beginning of the book, there's, like, this huge, like, wave of ether explosions that just covers mostly the US, but also the entire world, and it kills, like, a ton of people. And so that's where the book starts, like, post-apocalyptic, late 1800s in America. That's basically what the book is. And the main, like, characters are part of the circus, and they're just trying to travel around, like, seeing what's what. And the part I'm in right now, they're in New York City, and it seems like some stuff is going to go down. That's where I'll leave it. So the other book is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Jules Verne, it's a classic. But I'm listening to the audiobook of that, and I'm not too far into it. I'm only like maybe an hour or two into it. It's pretty good so far. We'll see where it goes. Like, they just got on the Nautilus where I am, just met Captain Nemo. And I know my sister read this quite a while ago, and I don't remember if she liked it or not. I think she did, but it was a while ago. And then the other one I'm reading is this is like really old copy. It's from my library. It's a Robinson Crusoe. It's not much to show here. This was published probably in like the 60s, like the earliest. The 50s. Jeez. Yeah, the earliest checkout year that I can see is 1957. So this is an old copy of it. I'm not disliking it, but I'm finding the reading like very slow going. I'm not too far into it. I'm only like there. It's a little slow going. There's no chapters in it, which is weird for me. I like chapters. I feel like they're a good stopping point for, the day. But there's no chapters, so I just kind of have to be like, oh, well, I'm stopping here in this random spot. I was going to kind of try to participate in the challenges for this month. However, seeing as I'm still reading 2 books from last month, I'm not sure if I'm going to try. I will go over, though, what I was planning on reading, because I might still read them. I'm not sure. So I was only planning on doing 5 books. I wasn't going to try to do 10. So I've got it right here. So September. So the first prompt is read a book that was released in September. So the book I chose was The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. I have all of the Narnia books. I've just never read them all. So I only have The Silver Chair and The Last Battle are the last 2 books that I have to read in the series. And they're very quick books. They don't take long. And then the second prompt is read a book with the title or author starting with S. Silver Chair works for that as well. The third prompt is to read a book with 9 letters or words in the title. I'm going to do Little Men, which is the second book in the Little Women series, which, if you didn't know, was a series. It is. There's 3 books. Little Men, and then Joe's Boys is the last book. If you see that Good Wives is the second book, it's not actually the second book. It's technically the second part of Little Women, but a lot of copies of Little Women will have both parts in them. So, yeah. So the fourth prompt is to read a book with all of the letters of autumn in the title or author's name. So Crime and Punishment has all of the letters of autumn, and that is on my list. That's a long one, so I'm not sure I'm going to get to it. It's a 20-hour long book, so I'm not sure I'm going to get to that one. The fifth prompt is to read a book that has anything to do with the sea and or ships. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is my book for that. The sixth prompt, which I'm not reading anything for, is to read a book with a heart on the cover or in the title. I think In the Heart of Darkness is on my list. No, it's not. I think it was on my old list. So I don't think I have anything with that, and I'm not going to read a book like I did last month. Radium Girls and Circus of Brass and Bone were both... The only reason I read them was to fit prompts. I'm not doing that anymore. As much as I enjoyed those 2 books, I have too many books that I'm already trying to get through that I'm not going to be adding anymore. Just random books that I didn't really want to read in the first place, if that makes sense. Like, as much as I enjoyed them, I probably wouldn't have read them, but I just have too many books. International. So the 7th prompt is to read a book with a number in the title. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea works for that too. The 8th prompt is to read a book with a Goodread main page tag of disability. None of the books that I'm reading or that are on my wish list fit that, so I'm not going to find one to fit it. The 9th prompt is to read a book with 5 or more colors on the title, excluding black and white. I wasn't really totally sure what this meant because there's tons of books that have that, but I wasn't sure like to what extent they wanted, and I just don't care enough to try to figure it out. Like just a random picture that just happens to have 5 colors work, or does it have to be like a rainbow? Or I'm not gonna try. And then the 10th, as always, is to read a book of your own choice. So I'm going to read The Last Battle and just finish off Narnia. So those are my books. The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis, Little Men by Louise May Alcott, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and then 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Those are my books. That's all I'm doing for this month. But then finishing off Circus of Brass and Bone and Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe I really need to finish off because it's a library book. I've already had to renew it once. I have one more renew left on it, but I need to finish it. I'm like a fourth of the way through it, and I really need to get moving on it. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. I am going to try to post earlier in the month, next month, instead of waiting, almost halfway through the month. I have a lot I need to get to, and I hope you guys all had a great Labor Day. I know I did. I worked a ton. I'm a bartender, and we were packed. We were packed for the weekend. Monday was But I hope you guys all had a great Labor Day weekend, and have a great September, and I will see you next month. Bye.